My name is Kelsey Diane, 26 years old, and this is the story of how I destroyed the Hughes dynasty from the inside out after they locked me in the wine cellar beneath our sprawling Beverly Hills estate, just moments before I was due to walk down the aisle. Standing amidst the blinding white linen and the cascading orchids, I never imagined that my wedding day, the supposed start of my perfect life with Elias Vance, would instead become the final definitive betrayal by the only people I was ever desperate for: my family. The air down here is thick with the scent of mold and forgotten history, fittingly so. I scrambled up, pushing against the heavy wrought iron door, but it barely budged. Above me, I heard the scraping sound that chilled me to the bone, the sound of Marcus, the estate manager, helping my father, Arthur Hughes, roll a massive granite slab, the very centerpiece from the garden fountain, to wedge the door shut. It was a calculated, deliberate act. Then came the voices. "You must be grateful, Kelsey," my mother, Denise Hughes, the cold CEO of the family empire, whispered through the narrow gap near the floor. "We are only doing this because Lily, you always understood that?" Beside her, the sickeningly sweet, familiar voice of my twin sister chimed in. "Enjoy the quiet, Kelsey. I'll make sure to wave at the paparazzi in your dress." The click of a retreating high heel was the last sound of my past life. But they didn't know one thing: they sealed themselves in this vault with me. The betrayal was complete, absolute, and publicly witnessed by no one except the tiny microphone concealed in the vintage watch Elias had given me. Before we dive into the full scope of their destruction, I need to know, if you're watching this story unfold right now, what time is it, where you are, and which city are you in? Let me know in the comments below so I can see how far my story of freedom has traveled. Don't forget to hit the like button if you want to see the Hughes family crumble, and subscribe to follow the rest of my journey. The notion of a family home filled with warmth was alien to me. My past was a series of proofs demonstrating the frightening level of favoritism, and it began the moment Lily and I drew our first breaths. Lily Rose was immediately designated the Golden Daughter, a flawless, angelic creature whose every whim was indulged, whose every failure was spun into a triumph of spirit. I, Kelsey Diane, was merely the shadow, the practical, quiet twin whose accomplishments were overlooked and whose presence was tolerated at best. The contrast was stark. Lily was dressed in custom designer clothes for school portraits, while I wore her hand-me-downs, often frayed or stained. Our parents, Arthur and Denise, saw Lily as the future, the beautiful, charismatic face of the Hughes family legacy. They viewed me as an inconvenient necessity, a quiet worker bee they occasionally remembered to feed. One vivid memory still burns. I was 10 years old, and Lily, jealous of the small painting I'd managed to create in art class, deliberately pushed me down the grand marble staircase during a dinner party. The fall was brutal, leaving me with a fractured arm and a sickening crack that echoed in the foyer. Before the guests could react, Lily burst into theatrical tears, pointing a trembling finger at me and wailing that I had tripped her in a clumsy attempt to steal attention. Without a moment's hesitation, Denise rushed to Lily, pulling her into a tight, comforting embrace, stroking her hair, and murmuring about my innate need for drama. My father, Arthur, merely looked down at my pale face and the beginning pooling of blood, commanding, not asking, "Kelsey, stop making a scene and go get yourself cleaned up." No questions were asked, no injuries checked. The lie was instantly accepted because Lily told it. This incident perfectly encapsulated our life. The disparity reached its cruel climax when I was 17. Through sheer force of will, countless hours of secret studying, and a desperate desire to escape, I secured a full academic scholarship to Cornell University, a dream ticket out. Lily, meanwhile, failed all her entrance exams, choosing instead to rely on her looks and charm. When my acceptance letter arrived, Denise marched into my room, tearing the letter in half before my eyes. "Lily needs this future more than you do, Kelsey," she stated, her voice devoid of emotion. You can attend the local community college and manage the household accounts. Lily will take your place, and we will pay the tuition. The concept of trading places was preposterous, but it was reality. Denise was the powerful CEO ruling the Hughes Financial Corporation with an iron fist, and Arthur always deferred to her cold, calculated judgment. That moment solidified my resolve. I did not take the community college route. Instead, I saved every penny from odd jobs over the next year, and on my 18th birthday, I packed a single duffel bag. I left behind the mausoleum they called home, carrying nothing but a burning hatred and the unwavering determination to succeed on terms they could never control. I cut off all communication, determined to build a life so independently successful that their golden cage would never be able to hold me again. I was gone, but the ghost of the golden daughter's privilege haunted my every waking moment. Starting my new life at 20 years old was a grueling endeavor, but every late-night shift and every rejected job application only fueled my fire, a stark contrast to the pampered ease Lily enjoyed. I took online courses, worked as a barista and a freelance editor, and eventually leveraged my raw analytical skills and financial acumen, the very talents Denise had relegated to housekeeping, into a respectable degree from an accredited online institution. I proved unequivocally that my value was intrinsic, not inherited. My hard-won independence eventually led me to the man who would redefine my world, Elias Vance. I was hired as a financial consultant to assist in the expansion of his burgeoning tech empire, Vance Global. Elias was not merely wealthy, he was brilliant, demanding, and utterly fair. He saw me, my skill, my discipline, and the quiet resilience forged by my past, not the shadow of the Hughes family. Our professional partnership blossomed organically into a relationship built on mutual respect and intellectual connection, a stark contrast to the transactional nature of love I witnessed growing up. This perfect partnership, however, held a profound secret. 6 months into our engagement, Elias revealed his truth to me. He was not just the tech billionaire the world saw. He was a highly decorated undercover agent working across the DEA and FBI, using his financial empire as the perfect cover. He was actively investigating a sophisticated international money laundering and organized crime network, with his current primary objective being a man named Mr. Alistair. Elias explained that the opulent lifestyle was necessary camouflage to move within the circles of his targets. This startling revelation only deepened my trust and admiration for him. He was a protector with the power to back it up. To ensure my safety, Elias presented me with an innocuous-looking antique gold-plated watch. It was beautiful vintage in appearance, but technologically advanced, a sophisticated communication and security device. "This is your safety net, Kelsey," he told me, fastening it gently around my wrist. "It has GPS tracking, a one-time emergency distress SOS beacon, and it's recording all ambient sound linked directly to my secure server. It's my guarantee that wherever you are, I'll find you." I accepted it as a testament to his love and his world. It was shortly after this revelation that the name Hughes resurfaced in a context far darker than I expected. Elias revealed that his investigation into Mr. Alistair had uncovered unexpected financial links to Arthur Hughes's company. The company was deeply leveraged, facing crippling debt and relying on increasingly murky investments. "They're compromised, Kelsey," Elias warned, his expression grim. "They're desperate to stay afloat, and desperation makes people do terrible things to their own blood." I understood then that my family's past cruelty was about to intersect with Elias's dangerous present, and I braced myself for the inevitable call, knowing that the golden daughter's privilege was about to cost them everything. The anticipated call from Denise and Arthur finally arrived approximately 1 month before the scheduled wedding, confirming Elias's predictions. The Hughes Financial Corporation was indeed teetering on the precipice, facing a colossal debt exceeding $10 million, the direct result of a calculated and sudden withdrawal of capital by Mr. Alistair, their shady backer. The parents weren't calling to reconcile. They were calling to command my assistance, leveraging the small flicker of hope they believed I still held for them. Denise, ever the master manipulator, presented it as a mutual endeavor. Kelsey, we need you to bridge a few gaps before the marriage secures us. The truth was, they needed me to temporarily inject my personal funds to stabilize the company and make it look solvent for Elias's prenuptial review, which, ironically, Elias had already cleared. I agreed, not out of any lingering affection for them, but solely to protect Elias's undercover work. I knew if the company collapsed prematurely, it could potentially compromise his investigation into Alistair. My temporary financial help was a sacrificial lamb, buying Elias the time he needed to conclude his case. This small concession, however, cemented their belief that I was still their dutiful, easily exploitable daughter. They felt comfortable enough to proceed with their ultimate vile scheme. Days before the wedding, I heard through my network that Denise, Arthur, and Lily held a highly secretive meeting in the library. Unbeknownst to them, my antique watch was active, streaming the entire conversation into Elias's secure server. I heard every cold, calculating detail of their plan. Lily, the golden daughter, would take my place at the altar. Denise outlined the logistics, which included isolating me just before the ceremony when the guests were distracted. Lily would step in seamlessly, using our identical appearance to secure the Vance fortune, and more importantly to them, the powerful connections that could stave off the financial and legal ruin looming over them. Denise's voice was sharp as she concocted the perfect alibi. We will tell Kelsey to retrieve a crucial heirloom, a vintage portfolio from the old wine cellar. It's the perfect place, secluded and lockable. The most chilling part was Arthur's weak agreement and Lily's giddy, entitled laughter at the thought of stealing her sister's life. The family's motive was now laid bare: a desperate multi-million-dollar insurance policy disguised as a wedding. Elias listened to the full hour-long confession. He made a profound decision. He would not warn me. To intervene now would alert the family and Alistair, putting my life at greater risk and destroying his entire investigation. Instead, Elias chose to let the scheme play out, transforming their perfect betrayal into a perfect, inescapable counter-trap. The watch, initially meant for my protection, became the key evidence that would secure their total and utter downfall, turning my personal trauma into a decisive professional victory for Elias. The noon of August 7th arrived, and the opulent tension inside the Hughes manor was suffocating, the air saturated with the cloying perfume of expensive lilies and utter deceit. I had deliberately avoided eye contact with Lily, who flitted about in her preparatory robe, wearing a smile that was both saccharine and venomous, oblivious that I knew her entire script. I wore my custom-made wedding gown, feeling every stitch of silk and lace was a cruel joke, a costume for a betrayal I was fully prepared to endure and weaponize. As the ceremony music began faintly outside, Denise approached, her face a mask of strained maternal concern. "Kelsey, darling, there's been a small mishap," she purred, motioning toward the back hallway. "The vintage portfolio, the one containing the original company deeds, has been mistakenly placed in the old lower wine cellar. It must be present for the marriage contract signing. Please, only you know where to find it. Marcus is waiting near the entrance." I nodded, playing the role of the dutiful bride one last time, my antique watch feeling heavy and resolute on my wrist. I followed her instructions, descending the winding, damp stone steps toward the deepest part of the house, the air growing colder with every step. Marcus, the estate manager, stood by the heavy oak door leading to the unused storage vault, the notorious secret cellar. He quickly retreated as I passed him. The moment I stepped inside, the light above me extinguished with a loud pop, plunging me into pitch darkness. Before I could turn, a powerful shove sent me sprawling onto the cold dirt floor. The heavy oak door slammed shut with a terrifying finality. I heard the frantic, heavy breathing of my father, Arthur, on the other side. Arthur and Marcus, working in tandem, were struggling with the granite slab. This is the only way to save us from Alistair. Arthur gasped out the words echoing dully through the thick metal door. Lily is the answer, Kelsey. You understand sacrifices. It was the ultimate personal betrayal. Arthur, the one person I had perhaps held a microscopic fragment of hope for, was physically involved in trapping me. Then the sound I knew was coming, the malicious laughter of Lily. She appeared standing smugly in the narrow gap of the door, dressed in my magnificent ivory gown. She looked every bit the princess she always believed she was. Such drama, Kelsey. Always needing the spotlight even when being locked away. She sneered, adjusting the diamond-encrusted veil. I'll be sure to tell Elias how brave you were. I will be the Queen of Vance Global now. Stay right here, and maybe we'll send you a slice of cake. Her words were the final nail in the coffin of my past. My tears were not of pain, but of resolution. With a silent prayer to Elias, I reached for the concealed button on the side of the antique gold watch, pressing the small, almost imperceptible SOS beacon. I knew the cavalry was coming, and when they arrived, they wouldn't just be rescuing me, they would be delivering judgment. The agonizing wait in the dark cellar was thankfully brief. Only minutes after pressing the SOS button, a sudden powerful hydraulic whirring sound erupted from the hallway above. Then came the metallic shriek as the granite slab was efficiently and forcefully moved. The heavy door didn't just open, it was professionally breached, folding inward with a decisive, deafening crash. Detective Miles Elias's second-in-command and my personal guardian angel in that moment stood framed in the light, flanked by a tactical security team, all moving with the practiced swiftness of professionals. "Ms. Diane, we've got you," Miles announced calmly, offering a strong hand to pull me up from the dust and debris. I was out alive and ready. Elias himself appeared moments later, his face grim but relieved. He didn't waste time on emotion, only wrapping me in a quick, secure embrace before getting down to business. "I heard everything, Kelsey. Every despicable word," he confirmed, pointing to the watch. "The wedding location is compromised. We've moved the actual ceremony to a secure compound in Malibu. Now it's time to let them finish their theatrical performance." While Miles ushered me into a waiting armored vehicle bound for the new private venue, Elias executed the second phase of his counterplan. Back at the Hughes Manor, the sham ceremony was underway. Lily, radiating false confidence in my stolen dress, walked down the aisle, her gaze fixed on the empty spot where her intended groom should have been. The hall was sparsely filled. All the genuinely important guests, the powerful investors, the political figures, and the business magnates had received a cryptic last-minute cancellation notice from Elias's team and were instead attending the real secret ceremony. When the officiant asked for the groom, there was only a prolonged, embarrassing silence. Lily's triumphant expression curdled into panicked confusion, and Denise's commanding presence shrank into frantic bewilderment. Their perfect plot had yielded nothing but an audience of C-list acquaintances. Then the true climax unfolded. On a massive, retractable screen that had been intended for a retrospective wedding video, Elias appeared live, impeccably dressed in his tuxedo, standing beside me, the true bride at the Malibu altar. He wasn't broadcasting on a private channel. He was on the main financial news network, live streaming the event globally. "To the few of you gathered at the Hughes residence," Elias's voice boomed calm and utterly ruthless, "I must announce that my intended marriage to Miss Lily Rose is not happening. In fact, my only fiancée, Kelsey Diane, is standing right here. Furthermore, as an officer working with a multi-agency task force, I must also announce that the Hughes Corporation and its principals, Arthur and Denise Hughes, are under immediate investigation for collusion with known criminal elements, including Mr. Alistair, and attempted fraud against my company." The screen cut to black. Lily let out a strangled, animalistic scream, ripping the stolen veil from her hair, her face a grotesque mask of fury and shame. Denise and Arthur stood frozen, their perfectly constructed world imploding in a blaze of public humiliation and legal certainty. A week after the truly unforgettable wedding day, while Elias and I enjoyed the surreal peace of our honeymoon aboard his private yacht in the Mediterranean, the real nightmare began for the Hughes family back in Beverly Hills. Elias's elder sister, Anya Vance, a merciless partner at one of the nation's top corporate law firms, moved with swift surgical precision. She officially filed civil litigation on my behalf and, more importantly, coordinated with the federal agencies Elias represented. The company of Arthur and Denise Hughes was immediately placed under an asset freeze, the first step toward total financial liquidation. Arthur was formally summoned for questioning regarding his illicit dealings with Mr. Alistair, now the subject of a massive federal indictment. The financial ruin was rapid and absolute. The sprawling Beverly Hills estate, the symbol of their arrogance, and the scene of my imprisonment, was seized by the bank within 10 days, a swift and humiliating foreclosure. Arthur and Denise, stripped of their power and their possessions, were forced to move into a dingy short-term rented apartment in a less than desirable part of the city. Their social standing vanished, instantly replaced by the stigma of federal scrutiny and public scandal. The ultimate display of their unbroken toxic dynamic came via a cracked smartphone screen during my quiet afternoon reading on the yacht. Arthur called me, his voice weak and pathetic, not the commanding tone I remembered. He pleaded for financial assistance, claiming it was merely a temporary setback. Even in his utter defeat, he managed to twist the knife one last time. "Kelsey, we just need enough to get Lily back on her feet. She's struggling with the press coverage." Denise, via text, sent only 4 words: "Fix this for Lily." That was their final chance. I looked at the shimmering blue water and the face of the man who genuinely loved me. My reply to Arthur was cold, definitive, and delivered without a single flicker of regret. "I gave you all an escape route, but you chose the granite slab instead. That slab represents your choice to sacrifice your blood for your arrogance and your obsession with Lily. Live with the weight of that stone now." I immediately blocked both of their numbers. The cycle of abuse was finally irreversibly broken. Meanwhile, Lily, the golden daughter who believed the world owed her everything, couldn't cope with the reality of her public failure and the loss of her guaranteed fairy tale ending. She suffered a severe psychological collapse, unable to reconcile the image of her entitlement with the truth of her catastrophic humiliation, leading to her eventual mandatory institutionalization. My vindication was complete. It was not just a victory of wealth, but a triumph of self-worth over decades of devaluation. Time moves differently when you are finally free. 6 months after the incident, looking into the mirror, I saw a Kelsey entirely transformed, a woman who was light, self-assured, and no longer burdened by the crushing expectation of the Hughes name. My marriage to Elias was everything they tried to stop loving, genuine, and built on an unbreakable foundation of trust and shared truth. I established my own boutique investment consulting firm, utilizing the analytical mind Denise had tried to stifle, and thriving independently. The business world, which had once seemed intimidating, was now my sanctuary, a place where I was valued purely for my competence. My new life was further blessed when I found out I was pregnant with our first child, a revelation that brought Elias and me profound joy. Holding Elias's hand, feeling the quiet certainty of his love, I finally understood what a true, healthy family felt like. It was something created, not inherited. I made sure to gather regular updates on the former Hughes dynasty, not out of malice, but to confirm the closure was permanent. Lily remained in a high-end psychiatric facility, the staff noting her delusional fixation on the stolen wedding and her deep-seated entitlement, an illness born of absolute privilege. Arthur and Denise now face the full brunt of the federal investigation, forced to sell all remaining assets and living a miserable hand-to-mouth existence in a cheap rented apartment, their public shame ensuring no one would offer them a lifeline. There was no redemption arc for them. Their fate was the logical consequence of their choices. I felt nothing towards them, no pity, no hatred, only the peaceful indifference of someone watching strangers on television. Their cruelty had failed to destroy me. Instead, it had accidentally armed me. Here is the essential lesson I want to share with everyone who has followed my journey. Never let anyone else define your worth, especially those who are supposed to love you. The greatest asset you own is your self-respect and the capacity to walk away from toxicity. When your own blood chooses a lie and a granite slab over you, you are not the victim. You are the survivor who has just been handed the tools for absolute freedom. Don't waste time waiting for an apology that will never come. Use that anger, that injustice as the fuel to build an empire of self-respect that is too high for their shadows to ever reach. My family tried to make me the sacrificial lamb, but Elias and I turned me into the executioner of their corruption, proving that the golden daughter's price was the total destruction of the entire kingdom. Thank you for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, or if you have overcome similar toxicity, please leave a comment and share the lesson you learned. Your strength is part of our collective power. Subscribe now for more insights on building true success outside the boundaries of trauma.